So Miguel, first of all, I mean, the obvious question for me to you is how are you and your family in Spain? And maybe give us a little idea of what is going on there with COVID-19.
Thank you. Here we are. It's been already 8 weeks at home. It's not easy. It's not easy, but the numbers are getting better and better. My family is doing well. Even my wife worked as a nurse in the hospital, so it's been a tough 8 weeks. But I mean, news are good. Situation is getting better. The family is good. So I hope we can go back to reality very soon.
Wow, what a remarkable thing that your wife is a nurse on the front lines in this.
Yeah, it's been difficult because she's been in a COVID-19 hospital for 2 months, and the situation, it's been hard for them, working every day, the full day, 24 hours 7, and with people that is alone and sick in the bed, that they cannot say anything to their families. So it's been hard from the emotional standpoint, but that's what they like to do, to help people in the hospital.
Talking to Miquel Farrerons, the partner CEO of Soccer Services Barcelona, and we're going to get into Ekkono method here in a little bit, which is really unique way of training individual players, teams, clubs. La Liga potentially coming back June 8th or 9th. Is that a morale boost for the country of Spain? Because we know how Spanish football is to the people.
Yeah, football here, it's I mean, the main sport, and it's every day it's on the news in every single conversation you have in your life, in the bar, at home, within the business. So I think it's important that football comes back. Even some people, it's not very comfortable with that because sometimes there's some controversy on that. But I think it's good for the people, for the country, for everything that we move forward with La Liga. It's been an interesting season with Barça and Real Madrid quite equal. So that I think it's good that it will be back very soon.
All right, let's talk about the Ekkono method. And can you give us just a general definition of sort of what it is? Because I want my audience to understand what it is. It is a way of training in soccer.
Yeah, Ekkono method, it's a training method that is divided in 2 main pillars. One pillar is what we call the Ekkono Smart. That is the part of the method that it's targeting players and coaches. So how to create professional players through the Ekkono method. While the second pillar is what we call the Ekkono Identity. That is all the part that is focused for clubs and football federations that want to develop their identity.
Now, let me just, and you stated that perfectly. Let me remind people, you have 32 clubs, 7 federations in 16 countries. It's a lot of coaching education that goes on with this, but you've got clubs like PSG, Barcelona. You recently announced Católica down in Chile. There's a number of clubs down in Chile. I want to ask you about that in a minute. So let's start with the individual player, because you've worked with a lot of big name individual players. I'm going to obviously go to the one here in the United States that's most identifiable, which is Christian Pulisic, and he is very high on the Ekkono method. How have you worked with Christian, and maybe give us some insight into that?
Our approach with professional players is supporting them from an individual standpoint and helping them on the game understanding. So we identify their profile of player, how they perform on the field based on analyzing several amount of matches. And then based on that, in this performance stage, we help them to identify what are the things that they do extraordinary, that most of the times is 2, 3, 4 things. That is what makes them to become the big stars they are. While let's say hidden or try to don't show too much what they do not really good, that even top superstars, there's things that they don't do really well, or they don't perform very good. Then with Christian, it's been a program on developing some of his main skills. We have been helping him on how to unmark, how to change in the transitions. So this kind of stuff where he has been improving quite a lot, mostly at the beginning of the season, because now as you all know, it's been stuck.
Now, does the way you work with Christian change when he moves from the Bundesliga in Germany to now playing with Chelsea in the Premier League based on the different type of football that may be played in each league?
The process of supporting him is the same because we are very committed with the game understanding. We don't understand those players who are playing football without really understanding the game. Is very similar that those who manage let's say the rules to play chess, but they don't understand how to play chess. You know how to move all the figures, but because of the rules, not because of you really deeply understand the tactics and all the complexity behind. That's why the process is very, very similar all the time, because we really believe that self-evaluation, self-understanding, deep analysis on you, on your team, on your teammates, learning from others, all these kind of dynamics are the same, but what is changing is the content. So according on the game style, according on what the coach is demanding to you, according on your personal moments, it's different if you just sign a new deal for one of the biggest clubs in the world than if you are just starting in another club. So this is the content is changing while the process is keeping the same.
Talking to Miquel Farrerons, we're talking about the Ekkono method with Christian Pulisic, the U.S. men's national team player now at Chelsea as well. So, I mean, did you meet with him in person, and then do you do this through video? I mean, how do how do you work with him, or a Vera Bouquet, or some of the other stars that you guys are working with?
For Christian in particular, we have been doing meetings, we have been doing video analysis face-to-face and from the distance. So we deliver him evaluation sheets, we deliver him self-analysis, so he has to do it and then send it back. But in these super performance players, many times we are adapting according to their needs, because there's other players that they say, okay, I prefer to concentrate while I am on holiday, so we can be on the field, so we can really experience and really deeply understand what are you talking about on the field. We do some, it's not a physical training, but we do some experience with like sparring or friendly for them to really understand the content.
Self-analysis for players. I mean, some can accept it, some are good at it. Others just can't get over the hump. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a very interesting subject, even for younger players as well, that are youth players, developing that skill.
For sure. We are starting these dynamics with a very, very young age, because we believe this is part of the process for football and for everything in your life, because you have to really evaluate yourself and create objective, create processes, analyze, take decisions. So this is something that it can be used in other fields, and in football has to be taught since the very beginning. So it's not a player that is following what exactly the coach is saying, like we call sometimes coaches that are playing PlayStation from the side, cross, run, change, look. So it's not like playing PlayStation. From our point of view, the player has to be autonomous, has to be creative, has to take his own decision. That's why self-evaluation is super important. You have to be able to analyze. You have to be able to have criteria to analyze. That it's very difficult as well. You have to understand the environment. You have to adapt to the environment. That's why you have to teach them how to make all these things happen.
Speaking of Miquel Farrerons here on ESPN Radio, and we really appreciate the time, Miquel. Obviously, I think you're a lot better at Zoom than I am, because it took me a while to get this set up with you, based on the fact that I was learning how to use Zoom. So I thank you for being patient with me. When you come in with this program to clubs, does the manager sometimes maybe get a little bit intimidated? I mean, do you have to sort of create a relationship with them to show them that you're there to enhance and benefit them?
That's a very good question, and it's a very typical feeling. We position ourselves as a consultancy company. We work as a business consultancy firm. So when we sign a deal with the club, our consultants are going to the club, are doing the analysis, and are helping the club to implement changes. But we are not going there to be the coach of the under-19 or the technical director or the sporting director or the president. That's why it's very important that they don't feel scared, and they don't think that we are there to steal their position. Although it's a typical feeling, I have to recognize that. But this is very important that on our side, what we are providing to the clubs are processes, is know-how, is experience for them to embed into their daily operations. And then while the process is working, we are leaving. So most of the times we are signing deals from 3 to 5 years. Therefore, it's very clear since the first day that we will be leaving sooner or later, but we will be leaving. And we don't expect to be there forever. We don't expect to get their money forever. We just expect to help them to kick off a new project or to boost and focus on the identity in the midterm.
So that means a lot of coaching education has to go on. Even when you go down to Católica, you're going to be educating their staff, even though they're pretty accomplished guys.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, now in Católica, this is the first step. We are focused on the coaching education, not only in the academy, also in the management team, because it's very important to help the coaches because most of the time it's not ourselves going there and saying, hey, this is what you have to do. This is the new methodology you will implement. No, we do not believe on that. We believe on, let's sit down, let's create some dynamics, some processes to define and share between all of us this methodology, while let's create a content plan for the full club so everybody's involved, everybody believes on that. Let's create a pathway for the players all together, that it's shared between all together. It's not a PowerPoint that it's only decided by the technical director or by an external party.
Understood.
And this idea of trying to bring everybody at once, it's the most important thing. Otherwise, there's no club culture, there's no identity, there's nothing. So we are not there to impose anything. We are there to create processes to define their methodology, to define their identity, to define their scouting criteria or whatever that they want to do. Because at the end of the day, if we would be imposing everything, we would have only one customer per country. So our business model would be more difficult to scale.
Talking to Miquel Farrerons here, and I just want to mention some of the other clubs you've worked with. Obviously, very successful with Paris Saint-Germain, Japan. You've worked with the Asian Football Confederation, Pachuca in Mexico, which is something that everybody here in the Houston area certainly will identify with. Players like Cesc Fabregas, Christian Pulisic, Vera Buquet, who's in the NWSL, the great Spanish female footballer. Interesting one is Thailand, because I know you talk about working with the clubs and creating an ideology and an identity. And of course, we know the Netherlands and Germany and Spain, they all have an identity. We understand what that is. In the case of Thailand, how do you sit down with them and try to create what's best for them as an identity? Because having an identity is everything, I think. And then also, weaving in the culture as well.
It's a good question. Many people ask us about what are you doing in Thailand? I mean, everything started. It's the biggest project we've done. It's in Paris Saint-Germain. It was 3 years there working on the identity for the youth academy, implementing the methodology department that is still there, creating processes to help players. And at that moment, there was a big boom on our brand. Many people started realizing that. And then it was the moment when we met with the president of the Thailand Football Association. And he is a very interesting person because he has this ambition of changing Thai football. And this looks like a typical sentence for a president, that's true. But he has this midterm vision, and this is something that it's very difficult to find because most of the presidents, they just look for the short term. And he was very interested on changing all the coaching philosophy in the country and all the, let's say, the playing style, the kind of identity, the game model, the the feeling that they were sharing with other countries while they were playing football. Then in Thailand, it's interesting because from a technical standpoint, there's no big difference between a European player. If one of their most traditional sports is a kind of football that they play with net, and it's unbelievable from a technical standpoint. While on the physical way, it's true that because they are more in a warm country, it's more difficult to train. They don't have this, let's say, the competitive attitude, the learn how to compete, how to train, all this kind of mindset. It's that it's difficult, and many times it's related to the temperature of the country. It's very aligned with other kind of countries in this part of the earth. While in the tactical way, there's a big difference between Thai players and European players, and here is where we are adding the big value. It's where we are creating a full pathway for the players and for the coaches, together with all the Thai staff, or the Thai members, and the Thai clubs all together, even with the Thai league, to try to create a development pyramid that helps the full country to evolve in the short term. In the midterm, sorry.
And the lift a lot is based on the tactical intelligence and that part of the game.
Yes, this is they want to shift and put this pillar as one of the main pillars for the Thai player. This is something that you cannot achieve in 1 year, that's for sure, and that's the good thing of the project. Because they understand it takes time, but now we just send the paperwork to the IFC to change all the coaching curriculums and all the coaching materials and everything. Now IFC is going to approve it very soon. Then we will deliver all the materials for the coaching, educate the instructors and everything. Then for the players, we are doing a specific helping the clubs all together, creating committees between them to develop certain profile of clubs that will be more focused on this kind of skills. That is the profile of player that the FA wants to develop. So it's like a country project, but it's very interesting, keeping the tactics and the game understanding in the middle as a pillar.
Miquel Farrerons joining us here on ESPN. We really appreciate him coming on. And I know I initially asked you to come on the radio live, and you go, well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But your good friend Greg said, well, they stay up late in Spain.
That's true.
2 o'clock is your cutoff point, so that's okay. I want to move on here with something else here. And again, it's the Ekkono method. It's spelled Ekkono. And of course, Miquel, he is the head of this. He's the partner CEO of Soccer Services Barcelona. How important is the future, maybe look in the United States with the Ekkono method, and maybe getting involved with Major League Soccer teams? And I'm gonna throw out a little bit of a buzzword called scanning, which all of a sudden has come out now. I'm expecting to hear the word scanning a lot, but you've been working on scanning for many years, as has others. But is the U.S. a market that you would like to get into? Obviously, if Christian Pulisic's doing it, it can't be all bad, right?
Yeah. First of all, I want to highlight that even I'm the CEO of the company. The authors of the method are Carlos Romagosa and David Hernandez. And Carlos and David, they start to develop this method 20 years ago, and it's not a method that it's like the Spanish method or the Barcelona method. It's a method that, because it has been implemented in countries from all over the world, it has a piece from every part of the world, and that is the good thing, that we have the experience of implementing projects, of dealing with players, coaches, clubs, federations from everywhere, and that give us the flexibility of adapting to many different realities. Then Carlos and David, they are working on scanning. We call it perception since ever. Carlos. Even before, Carlos used to coach in Football Club Barcelona, La Masia. He was the director in the school there in Barcelona, Football Club Barcelona. And even before joining the club, they both have been already very focused on the perception and the decision taking and scanning, and not only on how to look for information, that it's mostly the most typical topic, like turn your neck or body position or look at your back or whatever. This is one of the pillars, but you have to think not only how to look for information, it's only what to look. So do I have to look for gaps, for teammates, for opponents, for lines, for spaces, whatever? Because if you ask to a player, like a 14 years old player, after the match, what kind of information were you looking for, you would be very surprised about what means information for them, what means criteria for them. I'm sure that they all will know how many players from the opponent's team were using Messi shoes, instead of identifying if the teammate was running while the ball was, the criteria for the coach and for the player are very, very different. So it's not only how to look for information, it's only what kind of information to look. And finally, the third pillar is what kind of, and when to look for information. So it's not the same when the ball is far, when the ball is close, when the ball is rolling to me, when I have the ball. So all these kind of variables that are exponential has to be mastered for the players, and has to be taught for the coaches, and has to be embedded for the federations, has to be spread from the clubs. It's super important if we want to create intelligent players, and from our point of view, it's the fastest way to become a professional player.
Yeah, and to coach this, there's probably all types of phases, right, for all the different levels. So if you're going to work on screening with younger players, what would be some basic exercises that we would look for?
Here there's two different things. One thing is you have to organize perception from 6 years old up to professionals. It's in the same way when you are at school, you organize the content in maths. So first you learn how to the numbers, then you learn how to add, then how to multiply, then you are turning it more difficult. While and no one expects 12 years old kid at school solving a problem from the university, right, because their brain is not ready. In football, there's a big mistake that because I am the coach of the under 14 and I go to see Real Madrid and I see Toni Kroos doing something amazing, and then I start teaching my under 14 players what Toni Kroos is doing. And if you think about it, it's like in the school, if you would be teaching a problem from the university to your 14 years old students and you would expect them to solve it, then it's very important to organize the complexity of perception in terms of how to look for information, what kind of information, and when to look for information across the ages, and create the pathway for the full club. And then when it comes to the coaches, it's what we call the didactics. It's how to teach perception, or in fact, it's for any content. When you are at school, at least here in Spain, I remember when I was learning the numbers, we had like a big draw on the wall, and we were like with the color doing 1 on the wall, 2 in the wall. Then we were using games to start playing with the numbers in order to get familiar and start adding and doing this stuff. Then we get the kind of sheets to doing some, like one train is leaving from Barcelona, another train from Madrid, where are they going to cross if they go? And then finally in the university, you have to do research by yourself. So the didactics that the teachers are using in the school to teach one content, in this case, maths, for instance, it's evolving as well according to the ages. So from our point of view, coaches have to adapt their way of teaching perception or scanning or any other content to the players. It's not going to the under 19 training. Oh, I like this drill a lot, I will do it tomorrow with my under 8, because it's doing a problem from the university with an under 8 player. Then it doesn't make any sense at school. Then it doesn't make any sense in soccer. So, for instance, it's very, very important to adapt also the way you teach a content. There's many different drills. There's many different ways of work on complexity according on the amount of players, the space, the rules. There's many different criteria that you have to take into account when you are designing a drill.
Talking to Miquel Farrerons. He's the partner CEO of Soccer Services Barcelona. We're talking about the Ekkono method. If I take you back to Christian Pulisic, did you get any interesting reactions from him once you started getting into the program with him? In other words, did maybe a light go off from him and go, wow, this is something that could maybe expand my game?
Oh, Christian is it's a very intelligent guy. He's very committed. He's a person that he likes to understand the game. He was very engaged with the program, and this is something that we really appreciate with him, because as you said at the beginning, there's some profile of players, and mostly at this stage when they are already superstars, that they are not into it. They just think, okay, I'm done. I did my job already, and why I need to improve. And here a good example is Carlos Puyol. When we did the program with him, it was back on 2008. He was already 30 something, I think, and he was playing the Euro Cup as a starter player. So if at that level you have the attitude to improve, everyone should be focused on that. And Christian is one of those players that are into it.
Talking again to Miquel Farrerons. And Miquel, we thank you very much for coming on. How about the United States and Major League Soccer? What's the perception in Spain? Obviously, some of the great Spanish players have come over here, like David Villa, playing for New York City FC. And, everybody over here loved the seriousness with which he came here and took the game. What is the perception in Spain about the soccer in the United States and MLS?
I mean, I don't know what's the point of view in Spain in general, but on our side, we would say that United States is maybe the country with the highest potential to make a big change in the following 10 years, because there's many countries in the world that haven't been like top in football, and they are investing a lot of money on that, many of them. But from our point of view, United States, you have the infrastructure, you have the most important thing, that is the sporting culture, you have the competitiveness, so you have already the full package in order to make it happen. Having said that, United States is a huge country, so it's like the full Europe, and it's very difficult to have unified programs, to have equal level of competitions in order to get high quality matches the full season. There's some kind of the profile of player that has been promoted. Maybe it's not very, very aligned with with the most successful players nowadays. So there's things to be improved for sure, but the potential is there, because you are the biggest economy in the world, because you have the best facilities in the world, because you have the best sportive culture in the world. You just need to check the Olympics. So soccer cannot be a difference. You have the players, you have everything. So I can imagine the United States doing a huge change in the following 10 years if they take the right decisions.
Last question before I let you go, Miquel, and thank you so much. Obviously, you guys just added Católica, which is a very famous club in Chile. You have O'Higgins down there. You have Wanderers already. Did it get a little competitive down there? Did one of the clubs see you initially working with the first group and then say, hey, we better get on board here and we better get the Ekkono method and some involvement as well?
That's a good question.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, by the way.
No, you are not. No, don't worry. You can ask me whatever. Football, and mostly when you deal with clubs, it's about relationships. So you have to build a relationship, you have to create trust, everything is long term. So in Chile, it's been already more than 1 year working in Chile as a market. We've done some trips there to visit clubs, to create relationships. We know a lot of the GMs, the presidents, the technical directors, and the attitude of improving, of implementing methodology departments, working on the club identity. It's been there since 1 year and something ago, or even more. And it's something casual casual. It's something that it came as unexpected, that all those clubs join at once. But I wouldn't say it's a matter of competition, because there will be more announcements soon. Even there will be an MLS club announced very, very soon. So even for the American market, and even it's a tough moment for football all over the world, we are working to create good news, new partnerships, new ideas, and meet people, because we know that when you think about the B2B model with clubs and with federations, you have to work long term, you have to create trust, you have to show them that you are reliable. And one of our main strengths is that anytime you call us, we are there. Anytime you ask for a document, we send the document. Anytime you need something from us, we are there. We are normal people. We are not superstars. We are hard workers. And this is something that you cannot show with a PowerPoint or with a plan. It's something that you have to build. And this is what we believe. And Chile, it's been a result of a long time working on that.
Miquel, I can't thank you enough. I'm going to be real interested to find out which Major League Soccer club is going to enter the fray with the Ekkono method. Looking forward to it. And I want to thank you very much. And by the way, I guess we say thank you to your wife, too, for being on the front lines as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's been a pleasure to be here. And anytime you need me, just give me a call and I will be here.
We'll do it again. That's what we like. See, we love Spain. We love Spanish. You know we love Spanish football. Miquel, thank you so much.
Thank you, Glenn. Keep in touch.
You too.